Roshini's got the moves like Jagger. She's in the house until 6 o'clock. It's 5:32. Roshini Rajkumar, communication coach, joining us on a Sports Sunday. It's 83 degrees in the Twin Cities. Eric Nelson with you. And we're touching on a lot of different topics, image, sports gossip, some horse racing stories from Australia. Let's talk about Roshini. Today, Simone Augustus of the WNBA champion Minnesota Lynx, the co-grand marshal of the GLBT Pride Parade right down Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean,
and that parade was well attended, let me tell you.
Very well attended. It's Pride weekend in the Twin Cities, and everyone's out. It's great. It's great to see the camaraderie and the fun, and it's great to see our athletes involved.
Yeah, and Simone Augustus, you could argue, is the best player on the Lynx.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No argument. And, you know, what? There's another winning story, the Lynx. You know, talk about some classy athletes. It's really wonderful to see what they do in our community as well as just how they play on the court.
Yeah, they're fabulous. I mean, TC and I have talked about them really going back to last year, that they really, to me, are the template for what you want in a team. They have a lot of star power. They have role players. They're well coached, but they all buy into the same thing. They all take their role and they try to excel at it.
Now, here's what I'll say about sports and the PR of sports within the different organizations. Now, I know that when Kevin Garnett was first recruited as an 18-year-old for the Timberwolves, Glenn Taylor gave him some PR coaching, which was very smart and forward-thinking. I mean, think about how long ago that was. My sense with the Lynx is that those players are given some level of coaching. I don't have inside knowledge of this, but that is my sense based on how you see them behave, how you see them run press conferences and respond to things. It is not natural to do a press conference. You know, you've covered many of them. I've covered many of them. And there are such things as amazing sound bites, and then there's just things that are flat. And you want to be quoted. If you're in a press conference as an athlete, you want that quote to be up there, you know, in the paper the next day, all over TV, all over ESPN. So I would love to find out a little bit more, and I don't know if you have some insight into that about the Lynx, but a really well-managed team, my sense is those players are getting some coaching.
Well, I think that's a great point, too, because I think, you know, we're on this side of it. We're the interviewers. We're the broadcasters. We go into the locker room or the press conference situation, and we just sit down and wait for the person to get up there, and we talk to them.
Right.
And think about it. How many people are prepared for that? How many people out there listening, if I said tomorrow you got to give a speech to 50 people, are going to get stage fright?
Right.
Or they're going to say, what in the heck am I going to say? And let's be blunt here. Some people in the media, they have an agenda. They're looking to make you look bad.
Oh, believe me, when I was on your side of it, now I wasn't a sports reporter, but as a news reporter, when I had to go cover either sports, the fans, or different issues, or just news in general, you're looking to get some interesting sound. You're not the friend of the person you're interviewing at that press conference. So even different from a speech, Eric, you know, you could ask a question, Rosie could ask a question. They have no idea what you're going to ask. At least in a speech, they have some prepared remarks. Now, they probably start with some prepared remarks, but then, you know, game on. You guys are asking them all different kinds of things. So I don't know of a time when a Lynx player has really screwed up a press conference.
Or an interview. I mean, Eric, I don't know if you lead the pack in the Twin Cities media, but you got to be close with numbers of interviews that have been done with the Lynx. And let's face it, the media haven't embraced them. And to your point, Roshini, I think what I've noticed when they come on these airwaves or any interviews I've heard with them, it's a more candid kind of a feel. They're very conversational, relaxed. And I think it's important because they need much more to have people embrace them through that medium than somebody like the Vikings. The Vikings, they're not hurting for publicity. They're not needing to, you know, they're
good
big
and
enough.
Bad publicity. Yeah. They're not hurting for.
Yeah, and they survive the bad publicity. I don't know that the Lynx would be able to skate the way somebody like the Vikings do. But I've noticed when they come on, they are so cordial. They're so, you know, they're available anytime, and that might be part of it. That might be part of the coaching that you're talking about, where somebody's saying, look, you got to get out there and you got to do a good job.
And here's what I say to my clients. The calmer you are on the inside, the more powerful you are going to be on the outside and to the outside world when you actually open your mouth to speak. So these players have a really good morale going in. That's my sense. They're well coached. They're well managed. They're probably well paid. And that helps them to be calm on the inside to then open their mouths and say some good things that help the team, that help their own brand.
And shouldn't it be a no-brainer for these teams to coach their athletes in communication, to work with them, prepare them for what they're going to face from the media? I'll give you 2 examples. The Twins drafted Byron Buxton, a high school kid out of Georgia, 2-3 weeks ago. Now, he's in the minor leagues now, but eventually we'll see him at Target Field. And the Wild, 2 days ago, drafted a 17-year-old kid from Red Deer, Alberta, Matthew Dumba. Now, these are teenagers,
right.
Hockey, baseball. What would you tell them as they navigate their way through the minor leagues up to the big show?
Right. Well, Eric, I absolutely believe these teams should give their players rigorous coaching, especially when they're coming in under 20 years old. And, believe me, I'm happy to field any of those calls from those teams and help out. I do know the NHL gives some very basic media coaching to its players. But let's talk about the NHL. You've got a lot of different countries with a lot of different accents coming into the NHL. And so English isn't first language for all of those players. And if they're only getting, let's just call it 5 hours of media training, maybe less, that's just not enough. And when it's a sort of a templated coaching, that's just not enough. And so any team that puts a little bit of an investment, and it's not a huge investment, into really helping specific players or all players on the team, make it more general for their whole team, get that coaching in how to talk to the media, how to go out and do autograph signings better, all those different things that they're doing on a daily basis. That is money well spent, because then it's always about how does it make your brand look. It makes the individual player look great. It makes the brand of the team look really good. I mean, think of some of the people who've had really great PR for their teams. Kevin Garnett just comes to mind because he was always on when he had to do interviews. And unless he was mad at the media that day, he usually did good interviews that only helped his brand, that only helped the team's brand.
Yeah, and another one I can think of is Torrey Hunter. It's why he was so popular here is because he's a great player, but he was so...
Torrey's
magnetic.
Adorable. Yes.
The $1 million watt smile and all that.
He's adorable. When I was a reporter here at Fox 9, I had a chance to do an exclusive with him about his workout, how he worked out. So we did some things on the field, and I interviewed him, and he was very fun, very conversational, very charming. But he gets that when he can showcase that part of himself to the media, and the media is always going to be there, that's going to win fans for him. It's going to win fans for the team. And Torrey, really didn't have any bad behavior, but, there were some times when he, remember contract negotiations, and he ended up leaving us. But that's when the fans can say, you know what, he's always been a good guy. If he ends up leaving the Twins, I can't be so mad at him, compared to, we shall, in our own heads, think of some of the names who have been kind of bad boys, mostly the men. And so when they leave, sometimes we're like, great, good riddance, because they've just caused the state a lot of commotion. So
I'll say it, Chuck Knobloch. I'll just say it. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, we've had
I was thinking of Randy Moss, actually. But, different people and beyond their level of athletic talent. When we like you, we almost don't care what your level of athletic talent is. I mean, we want it to be good, but you know what I'm saying. If you really show us you're there to talk with us, to be friendly in the media, to do what you can and say it right, then when you have a hard time, whatever that hard time is, the fans are going to be on your side.
Do you think, though, there are some athletes, and I'll just use Randy Moss as an example, who really...
Because he's such a good one.
Yeah, deep down want to be a bad boy, want to cultivate that image, almost be militant and not toe the line. Do you think some of these guys say, you know what, that's the image I want?
Yes, I absolutely think so. In fact, they want to be aloof. They want to be seen as a little eccentric. I remember when I was in TV news here, Eric, covering some fan stories at Winter Park. And, in Mankato when they were in training. And we were down there, and Randy Moss rides by on a kid's tricycle, a kid's bike, like a dirt bike kind of thing. Just whizzes by. I mean, we didn't expect that. It's like this doesn't help your brand. I mean, it's just weird. It's strange. So the thing is, some athletes are, Dennis Rodman is one. He doesn't care what you think. He's going to be the party boy. He's going to do what he does. And that's intentional. I don't think they just do that without thinking about it. Everything, there are no coincidences, Eric. Everything has some kind of intent. And I'm always going to be recommending that these athletes have some intent for good communication, good PR, positive image stuff, because they are supposed to be role models for kids.
I remember covering a Super Bowl in New Orleans a few years ago. I happened to be on Bourbon Street one night and saw
Just
Dennis Rodman. Yes, it was an accidental thing. I stumbled onto the wrong street, Rue de Bourbon, and there's Dennis Rodman. And so me and my brother we kept our distance, but we just watched what he did. And he walked into a bar. We walked into that bar, and within minutes, he had the microphone. He was basically saying, I'm going to buy everybody in here a drink.
Okay.
And away he went.
So he's having fun with that, and you know that that's going to get out. Someone's going to be interviewed about it. So you don't just do that because you want to do that. You do want some of that attention, right?
All right, yes, some of them do, no question. Saw this thing in the New York Times today, Roshini, let's get your reaction. Ben Cohen, he's a British rugby star, quit the sport last year to devote himself full-time to battling homophobia. Now, in 2011, he started the Ben Cohen Stand Up Foundation to combat bullying, especially the bullying of kids who might be lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. For the record, Cohen and his wife, Abby, have twin 4-year-old girls, and he's even coming out with his own athletic-style cotton underwear. The ads will feature him in the briefs looking freshly muddied from the rugby pitch. But I guess the gist of what I'm getting at here is, what kind of a statement does this make? Here's a rugby icon in England battling homophobia. I would think that's going to maybe sway some opinions.
Absolutely. But, wow, that's the first thing I have to say.
And giving up his career.
Wow, giving up his career. Talk about a mission. He's saying, I'm going to take my name and I'm going to do something good with it. It's not only going to be about me and the millions I can make. I'm going to really try to take my name and lend it to something to make society a better place and make the lives of these children better. I mean, I applaud that. I don't know what else there is to say to that. I applaud that. I hope more athletes can figure out a way to not make it about themselves. Several do have their own foundations and they're doing different things. But this is a very sensitive topic right now, and to embrace it, in a way, he's a bit of an outsider too to the topic, but to embrace it, and maybe this is where he's figured out he can be more powerful in this particular topic area. So it will be very interesting to watch how he goes about doing this. Now, the underwear ads on the side, that you tell us that, and just to give any of your female listeners out there the visual, you said to me that Ben Cohen's basically the David Beckham of rugby.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And Eric knows I'm a huge...
That's a language you can understand.
It's a language I can understand. I'm a very, very big David Beckham fan. So keep in mind, though, and I don't know this Ben Cohen, but if he has a new line of underwear coming out, he also wants that to sell, right? And I'm not saying that he's doing this other very worthy cause so that the underwear sells.
Motive, right?
Motive. No, it's not.
And with stardom, you get the platform.
Right, exactly.
And you can choose your platform.
Exactly. So, just keep in mind there's a whole platform going on that, yes, it includes this wonderful mission, but he's also turning around and wanting to sell underwear. So, everything... Sometimes they say no publicity is bad publicity. I don't necessarily agree with that, but keep that in mind.
But isn't that okay in the sense that, hey, if he makes some money off of doing a good thing, what's wrong with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But just know there's always strategy involved. I think it's great that he's doing this. I absolutely applaud it. There's nothing wrong with it. But so you say he left his rugby career. He's also now going into products. So he's taking his name to that product line. He is trying to make a living in that other way.
Why, Roshini, do you think athletes and the money they make, they become lightning rods? We hear the Joe Mauer contract come up constantly, or A-Rod, or Peyton Manning. People constantly are down on athletes because they make so much money. Yet I don't hear that same venom or acrimony directed at a Jay Leno who makes $35 million a year for telling jokes, or Tom Cruise who can get $50 million for doing a movie that might not be any good. Why are we not angry at those people, but we're angry at the athletes?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's because the athletes also showcase the bad behavior. And I'm not saying that there aren't some celebrities that are making big money that also don't have the bad behavior. But we see that coming around more in the sports world. So that's probably why we take out that venom against the athletes versus the movie stars or the Jay Leno characters.
All right, fair enough. Tom's on a cell phone. He wants to weigh in. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, I just jumped in the car and I got a half-hour ride ahead of me, and what you were talking about, I didn't know how it started, but it certainly struck a nerve with me. Last year, after the tornado in the May or whenever it was, up in North Minneapolis, a group of the Lynx were up there in a house or some place with a bunch of kids, talking to them, just doing the stuff that you'd like to see athletes do, as you're talking about. And the TV interviewer stuck a microphone in one gal's face. I don't know who it was. I think it was Candace Wiggins, but I'm not sure. It could have been any of them. They said, wow, what a great thing that highly paid professional athletes, such as yourself, and just an aside on this, American women professional basketball players make $100,000 tops, or maybe it's $200,000. They're not highly paid. But anyhow, he says, it's really amazing, or she said, it's really neat to see professional athletes highly paid up here spending time with these kids. And the gal looked him straight in the eye and said, are you kidding me? She says, we play basketball for the platform, not for the money. And I went out and bought season tickets, good ones too, and I really enjoyed it.
Wow.
I thought these people are better citizens than they are basketball players, and they're very good basketball players.
Yeah, that's a really nice story that you're sharing, Tom. I mean,
I would love to know who it was, because then I'd go get her autograph with that statement. I'd put it in a plaque to give it to kids.
And I remember that, Tom. I was covering that story at the time for Channel 4, and I remember finding out from the Lynx media relations people that this was the idea of the players. This was not Glenn Taylor or Cheryl Reeve, the head coach, or the marketing department say, hey, go out to North Minneapolis. It's a good photo op. We'll look good. The players were the root of that decision to go there. So I think that speaks volumes to what you just pointed out.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. It's a great story. And thanks also for pointing out the wage disparity between the Lynx and the Timberwolves.
All right, one more segment to go with Roshini. We are WCCO.